Chapter 4, Destiny, Part 2. The train's final destination was City Y. After returning from C University last night, Mosheng went to bed early. She woke up at around 4 in the morning the next day, unable to fall back asleep. She stared at the ceiling for a while before getting up to tidy up and then headed to the train station. This was her first time returning to City Y after coming back to China. The train arrived in City Y at noon. It was raining, much cooler than City A, and the cold wind made people shiver. Standing on the steps of the train station, clutching her thin clothes, Mosheng looked up at the city that raised her. A mixed feeling of desolation and joy surged in her heart. She wondered if this was what they called homesickness. "Miss, are you here for tourism? Do you need accommodation at the lowest price in the city? Miss, would you like a tour guide? Special discounts for National Day." As she walked through the square, she encountered many people trying to solicit business. Perhaps her searching expression made her look like a tourist rather than a local. Mosheng couldn't help but self-mockingly feel a bit bitter. Fortunately, the bus stop was still in the same place, and the bus routes hadn't changed. She easily found it. Someone had once said that to truly understand a city, you should take the bus multiple times because it would take you through all the vibrant places in the city. Mosheng looked out of the bus window at the pedestrians, vehicles, streets, and shops passing by. In the misty drizzle, this small Jiangnan city seemed indistinct, much like her current mood. Qinghanu Village, next stop, please prepare to get off. She alighted from the bus, and an old building came into view. Qinghanu Village had been around for more than 10 years. Mosheng had grown up here, little by little. She had never imagined that one day, standing in front of the familiar building, her heart would be filled with a sense of loss for what was gone. This time she came back to find her mother. Mosheng hadn't been in touch with her for over 7 years, and she didn't know if her mother still lived here. The rain outside grew heavier. Mosheng rushed into the hallway, knocked on the door, but nobody answered. Has she gone out, or has she already moved away? She waited for more than an hour at the door, but still, no one came back. Her clothes were wet and clinging to her body, and her toes had become ice cold. Mosheng suddenly remembered that there seemed to be a similar incident when she was a child. She got caught in the rain on her way back from school, and there was no one at home. She had waited for more than 2 hours at the door before her father came back carrying a briefcase. She still remembered how distressed her father looked then, holding her tightly and saying repeatedly, "Daddy is not good, Daddy is not good, Xiaoxing, spank Daddy." When with her middle-aged father, he turned into a mischievous child and played pranks with her wherever they went. There was no trace of the imposing Mayor Zhao, but he was always too busy, and the time he could spare for his daughter was limited. Mosheng's classmates had envied her father being a government official. But at that young age, she had written in her compositions, "My wish is for my father to come home on time every day and not have any uncles come to talk to him at our house." However, whenever he had time, her official father would dote on Mosheng as if she were a treasure, unlike her mother. In her memories, her mother had always been cold and rarely smiled at her. Xiaoxing. A surprised voice brought Mosheng back from her memories. Aunt Huang. The middle-aged woman standing in front of her was their neighbor. Her husband used to work with Mosheng's father at the city government, and their families were quite close. "Xiaoxing, when did you come back? Come in, look at you, all wet." Aunt Huang opened the door and welcomed her inside. After using a towel to dry herself, Mosheng asked with some unease, "Aunt Huang, is my mother still living here?" "She's still here. Where else would she go?" "You, this child, haven't given any news for so many years. leaving your mother all alone here. It's not that she didn't want to give any news. Mosheng felt a bit bitter. 7 years ago, when she first heard the news of her father's death while abroad, she immediately called home. But her mother calmly said, "Don't call again in the future, don't come back to China. Your father ruined half of my life, and now I can finally live peacefully without wanting to see anything related to him." Then, she hung up the phone, and when Mosheng called again, it was already a disconnected number. Later, she learned some unbelievable hidden truths from Uncle Li, her father's old classmate in the United States. Mosheng didn't respond to Aunt Huang's complaint. "Is my mother in good health? I haven't heard of any health problems. It's not a good time for you to come back. She just went out with the community tour group and won't be back for 5 days. Stay with Aunt Huang for now. She went on a trip." Mosheng hadn't expected that answer. It seemed that she was doing well. Mosheng lowered her head and smiled lightly, standing up and saying, "Aunt Huang, I'm leaving." "Aren't you waiting for your mother to come back?" Aunt Huang asked in surprise. "I'm not waiting anymore. I just wanted to see if she's doing well, and then there were some things I wanted to ask her." Mosheng paused for a moment. "Now I know that she's doing fine, and I suddenly don't want to ask about those things anymore. The outcome was already like this, and the reasons no longer mattered." "Aunt Huang, thank you. Please don't tell my mother that I came." Before leaving, Mosheng asked Aunt Huang for the address of her father's grave, Seat 157, Area A of Jinji Mountain Cemetery, just like a residential address. It wasn't the time of Qingming to pay respects, so there were almost no people on Jinji Mountain. Mosheng sat by her father's tombstone, leaning her head against it, as if chatting with her father like they used to. Mosheng was now chatting with her father. "Dad, I haven't come to see you for so long. Are you mad at me?" "Actually, I didn't want to come back. I'm probably too weak to accept it. Why was I alone when I left, but now there's a tombstone? I always feel that as long as I don't come back to China, you'll still be alive. I still remember the cheese biscuits you bought for me before I boarded the plane. You lied to me, saying that you wanted me to go to the United States to see if it's good or not, and if it's not good, I can come back. But I felt that it wasn't good at all, yet I couldn't come back." The photo on the tombstone showed a young person who resembled Mosheng smiling kindly from beginning to end. Mosheng wiped the photo with her sleeve. "Dad, this photo is from your university days, right? Don't think that using such a young picture can pass for a young ghost." The mountains were shrouded in thin mist, and the surroundings were so quiet as if there were no other sounds in the world. Mosheng knocked on the tombstone. "Dad, you're ignoring me." After a long silence, Mosheng's eyes gradually became misty like the fog in the mountains. "Dad," he said, it's HeYiSheng. Do you remember him? He said we can be together again. What do you think?" Of course, there was no one to answer. After a while, Mosheng said softly, "Actually, I don't think it's a good idea. He is so outstanding, and many people like him. He can find someone better. We've been apart for so many years, and there are so many strangers between us. If we get back together, there will be numerous conflicts, and he will be disappointed with me very quickly, just like he often was disappointed with me before. I don't know how I'll be if we break up again. Right now, at least, I've gotten used to this." She couldn't say anything more at this point. She didn't know how long it had passed when Mosheng softly said, "I'm doing fine, Dad. Don't worry about me. I have to go, Dad." When she descended the mountain, the rain had already stopped. She looked back at the mountain peak, which was about to vanish into the night and thin mist, as if it belonged to another world. When she returned to the city, it was already dark. Mosheng checked the time. It seemed she could only leave tomorrow. She inquired several hotels in the city area, but they were all fully booked. Finally, she settled into an expensive hotel in the city center, took a shower, dried her clothes, and since it was too early to sleep, she got up and went downstairs. As soon as she stepped out of the hotel, she found herself on the most bustling Zhenguan Road in City Y. The city had beautiful mountains and waters and was a somewhat famous tourist city. At this moment, there were still quite a few tourists on Zhenguan Road. Suddenly, Mosheng remembered that she first met Yichen in City Y on this busy street. At that time, they were already dating. However, during the winter vacation of their freshman year, Yichen refused to give her home phone number. She felt so wronged and sad. How could a girlfriend not even know her boyfriend's home phone number? After their unsuccessful persuasion at the train station before breaking up, Mosheng left angrily. But after running a few steps, she regretted it. Why was she so upset? Perhaps if she acted pitifully, Yichen would relent. However, when she turned around, Yichen's figure had disappeared from the train station. When she returned home, she felt sullen and couldn't eat anything. She watched the TV without really knowing what was on. Later, she inexplicably started wandering the streets every day, thinking that she might run into Yichen. And then, incredibly, she did. It was a day after the New Year, with light snow falling from the sky. He and the girl she didn't know at the time, Ime, walked across the street from her. She couldn't react at first. Could it really be him? In fact, she didn't have much hope. There were so many people in this city. At the next moment, she had rushed across the street and threw herself into his arms. It seemed like it was under this tree, the girl with the fluffy white hat, hugging the embarrassed boy under the curious gazes of passers-by, shouting excitedly, "Yichen, I knew I would meet you. I just knew it." Mosheng closed her eyes. When everything between them had become a thing of the past, the most unbearable part was that everything remained vivid as if it had happened yesterday. As if possessed, she took out her camera and aimed it at the seemingly empty place, then pressed the shutter. The developed photo showed an empty road with no one passing by, just blankness. After the holidays, Mosheng's work became even busier. Only Xiao Hong had a lot of free time. She had just finished her program and was currently on break, so she spent her days loitering around Mosheng's office, worrying about Mosheng's lifelong matter. "Sheng, you can't go on like this anymore. You should know that time is beauty in its prime. If you find a man now, it's called rescuing society. But if you wait another 2 years, it's considered harming the male compatriots. Moreover," Xiao Hong leaned in mysteriously, "now is the time that aligns with physiological rules. Sheng, don't you want to sleep in a warm embrace at night?" "Xiao Hong, did you have that dream again yesterday?" "Occasionally." She pretended to be shy, blushed, lowered her head, and shook her body. After a while, she became serious. "Sheng, you're finally back to normal now. You seemed like a man had been snatched away from you in the past." It was the classic Xiao Hong-style metaphor, which made Mosheng laugh. As long as she didn't think about it, superficial happiness was actually easy to achieve. Laughing and joking with her colleagues, others would think she was very happy, and gradually, she herself would feel genuinely happy. She didn't want to talk about this with Xiao Hong, so she glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already 10 o'clock. "I have to go, there's a meeting." Today's meeting was the quarterly conference. The magazine Mosheng worked for was quite large, with not only the well-known women's magazine, Beautiful Color, but also a lifestyle weekly. Otherwise, they couldn't afford to hire 2 photographers. Beautiful Color was already a well-established magazine in the women's magazine market, always ranking first in sales among similar magazines. Although it still maintained the top spot in sales in the last quarter, its market share was gradually decreasing month by month. After the editor-in-chief gave positive feedback on the work of each department in the last quarter, he came to the main topic, which was about introducing new columns. Our magazine needs to stand out, and for that, we need something unique. There are so many similar magazines on the market, and most of the content is repetitive, covering beauty, fashion, food, emotions, and lifestyle. Besides these, what else can we do? The editor-in-chief looked around at the staff and continued, or, let me ask this, what else attracts women? I know. Xiao Hong raised her hand to speak, men. Everyone burst into laughter. However, the editor-in-chief nodded seriously. Xiao Hong may appear straightforward most of the time, but she's quite perceptive. Let's cut to the chase. He opened the slide, and the theme read, Elite Men. Whispers started among the staff. We're a women's magazine. Is it weird to feature men as a topic? Someone raised a question among the colleagues. You all understand the law of attraction between the opposite sexes, right? Men's magazines use women on their covers all the time, so why can't women's magazines write about men? The editor-in-chief retorted. After discussing for a while, the editor-in-chief said, in any case, the market is the only truth. So we have decided to do 4 issues for now, and we'll see if we should continue based on the reader's response. If anyone has any opinions, feel free to share. What about the candidates? I've already selected 4, but if anyone objects, they can suggest others. The editor-in-chief clicked the mouse, and 4 photos of young men appeared on the white screen. Our candidates are not those unattainable rich playboys or diamonds in the rough, but elites from various fields. They should have a certain level of fame, be young, excellent, and most importantly, unmarried. Isn't the one on the top right the architect who recently won an award? Yes, I think I've seen the one on the left somewhere. People pointed and whispered, but Mosheng's eyes were fixated on the silhouette in the top right corner. How could it be him? Oh, isn't the one on the top right Legal Times invited host, the lawyer HeYiSheng? Yes, it's him. The editor-in-chief nodded. Those who watch the provincial TV should know him. He's one of the invited hosts, and the show's ratings are quite good. I suggest putting him in the first issue, the experienced editor Lee suggested. He has appeared on television and is quite well known. He can attract readers right from the beginning. Yes, there was a high-profile economic case recently in our province that he won. It's got quite some selling points. Someone chimed in. I don't think fame is the key. What's crucial is that his appearance is much better than the other 3 candidates. He should easily attract the attention of many female readers. I agree, that's what I think too. Oh, is he that impressive? Mosheng heard the new intern next to her, Xiao Su, mumble quietly. You're just jealous. Huang, sitting next to him, laughed. Jealousy won't help. He might be earning in an hour what we earn in a month. I have a friend who's also in the legal field. I heard this lawyer charges a lot for each case. Huang extended 2 fingers. 20,000. Shaking his head. Is it 200,000? Huang sneered, multiply it by 10. Xiao Su gasped, 2 million. No longer saying a word, Xiao Su fell silent. The column's basic outline had been determined, and now the key was who would be in charge of it. The editor-in-chief surveyed the meeting room. Who wants to take on this new project? The meeting room fell silent, and everyone was eager to give it a try but also hesitant, so no one spoke up for a while. I'll do it. Standing up decisively, it was the renowned beauty in the magazine, Tao Yijing. Confidence shone on her beautiful face as she stated her intention. Editor-in-chief, I want to take on this project. My current work is almost done, so I have the energy to go all out. Besides, I have one advantage. I graduated from C University, just like lawyer He Chen and architect Kong Jianan. I believe we'll have common topics to discuss. Moreover, I had a chance encounter with Yi Chen before. A chance encounter. Mosheng looked up and happened to catch a rare blush on the usually cold beauty's face, feeling a twinge of heartache for some reason. Graduating from C University is impressive. Mei, who was sitting next to Mosheng, immediately grumbled discontentedly. Mei and Tao Yijing had never gotten along, and she was now instigating Xiaohong, why don't you take it? Why let her take the limelight in front of your colleague? Can't do it. If I take it, my boyfriend will suspect I'm about to cheat on him. Xiaohong glanced at the handsome men's photos. Oh, why do I feel like I've seen that handsome guy somewhere? Mosheng, don't you think so? Mosheng smiled reluctantly. You find every handsome guy familiar. At this moment, the editor-in-chief had decided on Tao Yijing. Yijing, we'll leave it to you, and I trust you will complete it successfully. I wonder if this can be considered a beauty plan. The editor-in-chief joked. Everyone laughed, and a male colleague teased, if our beautiful Yijing can win over that lawyer, maybe our magazine won't need to pay legal fees in the future. Yixing. The editor-in-chief called her. What? This special project has a relatively light photography workload. Please spare some time and cooperate with Yijing as much as possible. Mosheng hesitated for a moment, unable to find a suitable excuse to refuse, so she could only nod in agreement, planning to talk to Lao Bai privately later. Maybe she wasn't suitable to appear in front of him. Currently, the only intersection between Mosheng and Tao Yijing's work was a column called White-Collar Apartments. The column started by introducing the living environment of single white-collar workers and discussed their lifestyle concepts. Mosheng was responsible for photography, while Tao Yijing was responsible for the text. After work ended that morning, Tao Yijing said, "Let's have lunch together. But I made an appointment with a friend. Do you mind?" "You have a friend, I'll just go back first." Mosheng was a bit hesitant. "It's okay. If you go back alone, we won't be able to reimburse the fare." Since Tao Yijing put it that way, Mosheng could only nod. At the restaurant, Mosheng found out that Tao Yijing's friend was called Guli, the female host of Legal Time. "Tutor, this is my colleague, Xiao Mosheng. She's a photographer and will be in charge of the photography for this interview. Yixing, this is my senior sister from C University, Guli, who is currently the host of Legal Time." "Hello." Guli nodded elegantly in greeting. "Hello." Mosheng returned the greeting, feeling the urge to leave. It really was a small world. Guli was a typical white-collar beauty, fashionable in dress, graceful in demeanor, and her speech carried the friendly smile of a host. After some small talk, they got to the main topic, and Tao Yijing asked, "Senior sister, can you help us get in touch with Yi Chen for an interview?" "Get in touch? Why do I need to do that? Don't you two know each other?" "We only hosted an opening ceremony together a few years ago. After that, he graduated, and I don't think he even remembers my name now." A trace of loss flashed in her eyes, and Mosheng couldn't help but be moved by her desolate expression. "Maybe he will agree. Let me help you out," Guli said. "Help? I don't need your help, you two know each other." Tao Yijing rebuked, "Don't you remember? When I asked him to be the invited host, it was not easy. Guli remembered how she first saw her schoolmate, who had just gained fame in the legal field, when she proposed to work together. At that moment, the young lawyer's usually calm expression seemed a little absent and restless. It seemed as if she heard him mumble, "Does this count as standing in a prominent place?" Later, there was another occasion when he asked her about the show's ratings. She casually told him that it had quite high ratings among similar programs. Then, she heard him mutter in a low voice, "That means many people have seen it." "Yes, many people have seen it," she repeated at the time. Now that she thought back, perhaps this young lawyer also liked attention from the public. "Maybe he'll agree. I'll talk to him for you," Guli said at last. The place they were eating at was not accessible by taxi, so they had to walk through a square. The square was bustling with people, with many vendors setting up booths to promote their products. Tao Yijing noticed that Mosheng was slowing down and urged her, "Let's walk faster. It's almost time for work." "Oh." Seeing that her eyes seemed a bit absent, Tao Yijing couldn't help but ask, "What are you thinking about?" "Ha." As if awakened by her, Mosheng's tone was a bit despondent. "Nothing, just remembering when I got separated from a classmate here once. I searched for him for a long time before finding him. I said to him, if I couldn't find him, I would climb onto the display platform." "Why?" He asked the same thing. Mosheng smiled wishfully. "I said, since I couldn't find him, I would stand in a prominent place and let him find me." Was Yichen appearing on television hoping she would find him? This time, is it his turn to stand in a prominent place? Or was she just overthinking things again? "Do you like someone?" Tao Yijing asked. Mosheng didn't answer, but after a while, Tao Yijing heard her say softly, "Someone I really like."